the next one. This is a good one. This is a real good one.
Oh, shoot.
Rob,
I'm ready.
would you switch places with a black person if you could?
No, because I have white privilege. Do I get to pick the black person? I mean, seriously.
No, you just become Black Robby J. Same Robby, but black.
Everything stays the same. My family life, all of it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't I just be code switching right now?
No. You would be black. I said, wake up and you're
No, but how I
entire
talk.
family are black.
But how I talk. I'm code switching, right? Because I sound white right now. Yeah, right over there, Paul.
I'm fine.
I don't know. It's a weird question.
It is.
I mean, would I want to be black tomorrow? I mean, I like being who I am. I don't know how to answer that. And I know, Paul will flip this around behind me and be like, well, you know why you don't want to be black, because you're going to get stopped by the police as soon as you leave here, and they're going to pull you over and put you in cuffs. I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting question. Yeah. I kind of like being me. I like my heritage. I like my family. The other thing that the question doesn't answer is, if I turn black, is my family still white? That's awkward. Like, how the hell does that happen? Was I adopted?
ChatGPT is racist, man.
Yeah. This next one is even worse.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
All right. So look, I'm going to ask my second question.
Please.
Not the heavy one. All right. So this one is about sexual abuse, child predators, right? So I know here where we are, one of the high schools that we deal with has had a few in the last few years. One recently was, like, we just had one like a few months ago. The guy was put on leave of absence. School is going to remain anonymous. I'm not going to put it out there. But once again, facts, right? So, which, even with the facts that I pulled up, was kind of crazy, right? So, let's start with this. It's a 93.6% of sexual abuse offenders were men. 57.5% were white. 16.1% were black. 12.1% were Native American. 11.8% were Hispanic. And 2.5% were other races. Now, there's a breakdown for it. This is to show I'm equal opportunity here. So, now, 74.6% of the offenders of the cases involved in production of child pornography were white, right? And then 53% of the offenders in cases involved in travel for prohibited sexual conduct were white. 27% were black. 61.3% of offenders in the cases involving criminal sexual abuse and rape were Native American. That I didn't know. I did not know that. 65.4% of the offenders in the cases involving abusive sexual contact were Native American. And 84.6% of the offenders in cases involving statutory rape were Native American. The average age was 38 years old, right? So we all have kids.
Yep.
And so when you're dealing with stuff like that, when you're dealing with people that are legit predators, everything from white to Native American, I know this is supposed to be questions for you to ask white people, but it's going to be a two-parter. Number one, as parents, do you know your child well enough to know when something is wrong, for one? Two, although other cases, like, I can't talk on Native Americans because it's supposed to be a white question. So why is the stats for white men so high in that regard? I can't, like, black men are just sick. Like, I get that you got some sick individuals.
Yep.
And then what is the obsession with child pornography?
So if I could tackle those individually,
Go ahead.
I appreciate it. Okay.
Go ahead.
So your first question was, if you could reiterate, please. What's your first part?
So with those numbers and child predators being a very big thing.
Yes.
Do you know your child's body language to understand when something is wrong, if they have been touched, if they've been harmed? Are you able to tell the difference?
I think this is a difficult question, and this is why I'm going to say it's difficult. I think most parents would answer in the affirmative. Yes, I know my kid well enough to know what's going on. But that would be indicative that we could solve 98% of all these cases. And I think in general, you have a lot of abuse that goes on that is unreported and that people never find out about. Maybe they find out 30 years later, well, my uncle was doing this or that. So I'd like to think that the answer is yes. I have as you do as well. We both have very Hassan too. We all have very close relationships with our kids. So I'd like to think that I would notice behavioral changes. But I think what people get wrapped up in, or what could be a cause for not noticing, is the fact that kids go through developmental phases. So when you're a younger kid, you may not be able to put into words appropriately what's going on behind the scenes. Likewise, when you're a teenager, you have a mood shift, let's say with your daughter. Well, my daughter has mood shifts every hour. So it's hard to say whether or not that's related to abuse, whether or not that's related to her going through hormones or going through her first period. How do you quantify that? I mean, as we've talked about in our off time together, we have those family conversations over the dinner table, right? Like we have those in-depth things. So I do think I'd be able to spot it because I believe that I have a closer relationship with my kids than some other folks. It's good to have a panel full of men that agree with me on that is key, especially with our social media discussion, to making sure that our kids are safe and well taken care of. But I do think there are instances where it slips through. I just do, or else we would see a much greater rate of detection of perpetrators being arrested. But I think, and I hate to say it, in a majority of cases, that you have a lot of folks who get away with it. I also think that it depends on the power dynamic. So you have your uncle who is doing something untoward towards you. First, it's your uncle. So you have to deal with the family ramifications of reporting that. And, if you're really young, you might not understand that. But if you're a teenager, you probably do. And you're just like, well, if I report my uncle, my whole entire family is going to implode. Am I really going to be responsible for the destruction of my family? You see how nefarious and evil it is to put a child in that situation? Because what happens is the dynamic turns on the kid. The kid thinks, I'm going to destroy my family. I'm going to out my uncle. My uncle will be in jail. And other than this, he's been very nice to me, because they don't understand. In their head, they think, oh, my uncle, he gives me treats and stuff. He takes me out to ball games. Because it's a manipulation thing. It's the power dynamic. So as the uncle in this, my situation, he knows exactly how to exploit this kid and make it work in his favor. That's the danger. That's the evil inside of it. And I think that's what makes it difficult. So I'd like to answer your question as yes, but that freaks me out. I do, and I'll be straight with the audience and with you. I don't let my kids be alone with anyone unless I am 100% sure I know everything about them.
Right.
There's no way in hell, even picking them up from school, it's an absolute no for me. My wife and I will pick them up from school. Even like just doing, like, we had an option to send my youngest on a camp overnight with some church people, and I was like, no, it's not happening. If I don't know everyone that's going, the answer is absolutely not. Until I can trust that you are able to report that you have a strong enough sense of self. Like my daughter is awesome. She really is. I trust her in an overnight camp with the church folks, with people her age, because I know, first, she'll probably kill them, and secondly, that she would definitely be someone I could trust to report that back to me. So that's a long-winded answer to get to your main point.
No, that's a great answer. I mean,
And what was the second part of your question, mate? I'm sorry.
Dang, you just made me forget with that one.
I think you answered both of them in that.
No. So all right. So no, I think I got it. But geez, I wasn't expecting that one. That was a legit answer. But before I get into the second part, me personally,
yes.
I don't care. I'll tear down my family for my kids. I would tear it down. Honestly, like I would. And I believe my kids do realize that when it comes to them, I don't play no games. It's them over everybody. It's them over everybody else. If someone hurt them, and if it's a family member, they know I'm gonna tear it. Like I'll tear the family down for them. That's just me. But I do legitimately respect your answer. So the second part of my question was because child pornography.
Yes.
Why do you feel, or what is it that makes you think that child pornography is so high amongst that demographic?
I don't know. I mean, as a white guy, I mean, that doesn't really particularly interest me, so I can't answer that question. Um, I have no idea. It's a great question. I mean, I do think we've seen a rise, and not to turn the subject, I will address your point. But I do think we've seen a rise in the last 10 years or so that there seem to be a lot more female teachers that are abusing kids right now. So we've had this assumption, as it were, I think collectively that well, men are abusers, and men will use the power dynamic to do what they want to do. But from what I'm seeing, and again, this is all these things are anecdotal, right? I'm not coming in with major statistics. Oh, 60% are women. I'm just speaking off what I've seen, and again, we can't debate what I've seen because it's what I've seen, not you. But I do think that there seems to be, at least generally speaking, that there are a lot of women who are being accused of that now and getting in major trouble. It's very strange. So what is the shift in that? Why did that come about? Hell if I know. I don't know. I do find what we've seen is that evil will wrap itself in the sheep's clothing. I mean, the Bible talks about that. It's infiltration. The devil knows what he's doing. He's not an idiot. He knows exactly what he's doing. What is the best way to have access to children? Probably to be a teacher, probably to be in some sort of clergy, probably to be in some sort of youth camp. They're not stupid. It's not like, well, how do I get involved? How do I find children? They already know there's not a man in a van that's sitting on the side of the, that happens, but that's rare compared to what we were really seeing, which is evil infiltrating. And I think that's what people have tried to to kind of bowl over is that's why I don't like slogans. I don't like the thin blue line, pisses me off. I don't like Black Lives Matter. I don't like all of these inferences where we're grouping ourselves. We're saying, these people are always right. We got to trust all nurses. We heard that during COVID. No, get bent. I'm not trusting anyone. First off, if you're in a collective, if you're a police officer, it doesn't mean you're a good person. In fact, I might look at you twice because you're in a position of authority, and evil knows how to use positions of authority to abuse others. And that's the concern that I have, which is that just because you have a badge doesn't mean shit. It means that I'm going to look at you probably double time than I would anyone else. I don't trust you. I don't trust you if you're in the clergy. I'm sorry if this is offensive to people. It's just the truth. If you're in a position of power where you have access to my children, you better damn well be certain that I'm going to be double checking you. I'm not going to just assume that you're great just because you put on a piece of clothing that anyone can put on. So we got to get away from that in our society. I don't like this collective crap.
I like it. Nice. No, like you have no rebuttal to that. That was a nice answer.
Well, I think he's not in that life, so he wouldn't have a rebuttal.
Yeah, yeah.
He can explain it because I wouldn't be able to explain it if it was asked towards me. I don't know.
No, like I mean,
watch it. I don't look for it.
I mean, like no, we don't know, but it's crazy that like these stats are out there. So there's people that are literally tracking this type of information.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
And they should. And they should.
Right. And so like just like look at the subway guy, Jared. I mean, like he went down for seriously, it was child pornography. Yep. You know what I mean? And so this is one of those things. And then I read something because we were talking about people of authority and the power. Epstein.
Yep.
It was 14-year-old kids that he was parading around to like a lot of these people of power.
Yep.
So like I just find that kind of astonishing. And then there's and for some, I know some people think of sexual abuse or perpetrators as one thing, but there's different forms of predators and sexual abuse. And I do believe that we as a people need to be mindful of the different things. And we also need to be mindful that it's just not our kids. We got to pay attention to like everybody. Sisters, brothers, wives, like whatever. Just got to be mindful that there's people out there that don't have our families or our best interests at heart. So.
Totally agree with that. I think it's reasonable.
Okay, yeah, that's So this is a little heavy episode for the second part of questions that people are afraid to ask white people. But if you got any comments, drop them. If you got any questions, DM us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you at the next one. Black Chat out.